we are Wednesday night. So we're going to read a little introduction, gathering. Check. 1, 2. Hallelujah. Cool. All right. So this is the Universal Spirit Center. Well, first of all, my name is Willman, and I'm an elite mental performance coach. I help people from all walks of life, mostly athletes, but people from all walks, achieve higher levels of performance and confidence, I guess, if you will, which equals more results. So that's me. And then the Universal Spirit Center is an inclusive and progressive spiritual community committed to personal and global awakening. Our center provides many activities to support personal growth, connection, and spiritual awakening. I invite you to attend one of our Sunday morning gatherings, which includes awesome music, an inspiring message, and the opportunity to connect with others. Please feel free to take a half-sheet flyer about our center found at the entry area. If you have any questions about us, please come see me after this event. I look forward to seeing you at one of our Sundays. Whoop, whoop. So they said if I read it properly, I could stay. Okay, great. So we're doing creating certainty in an uncertain world. So let's break this down a little bit. Let's just jump right into it, right? If you have any questions about me, you can ask me about me. But so the first thing about creating is that you're bringing something into existence. It's not real. It doesn't exist, right? So, but it's gonna come in the form of, let's say, a desire for something, or an idea that you have, some sort of inspiration, wherever you get it from, right? It's not real. So when you're creating something, you've got an idea, you have to put it into the world, right? When you're creating certainty, you're creating something that's fixed, that you know. But you're taking something you don't know, that doesn't have any real form to it except the way you feel about it or the way you think about it, correct? So now you're going to make it a solid something. You know, whether, excuse me for my elite art skills, but let's say you've got a house, an idea for a house. Does that look like a house at all? If I'm saying it right, okay, good. Those are my trees. Anyway, so I have an idea for a house. In order for me to make that house real and to take that, right, and to know how to do that, but I'm doing it in a world that has a lot of moving parts, a lot of uncertainty to it, right? So let's call it a game. Although the definition of a game is, one of the definitions is that you're doing something for enjoyment, correct? It's pleasure. It's like, hey, let's go play. And it's very light. But the truth is there are some very dangerous games, like riding a motorcycle at 200 miles an hour. Or nowadays I saw a guy doing one of those winged suits, right? But this guy decided to stand up. So he's on an overlook, right? And there's a guy holding the camera out on an extension. So all you can see him getting ready from the front. And he doesn't have the wingsuit zipped up. So he's got to put the boots on while he's on the ledge, which means that if he makes a mistake or if the wind blows, he's going to get thrown off that ledge and he's not going to have his wings. He's not going to be zipped up. So that's a game, but it's a very dangerous game, right? So living is kind of like that, really. It's this world over here. It is dangerous. It does have dangers to it, you know? So we have to figure out how to navigate that, and we have to figure out how to create certainty, right? Something we know, something that's fixed, right? So this is how I've basically come around to doing this, right? So the first thing about playing a game is that you have to lay out the pieces. You know, like when you get a puzzle and you take it out of the box and you throw everything on the table and then you start to identify things, right? You guys need to get some paper? You want to get some paper to write with? Do you need a pen? Ooh, nice. Okay, great. So what we're going to do is we're going to identify some parts that we can use to take our idea, start making it and formulating it, and then putting into this world that's uncertain, that's got all these different pieces to it and other ideas about how that should go, right? So the first part of it is laying out the pieces to the game. So, like for example, a game. Let's see. I've been a limo driver, a professional soccer player, a vice president of production, a musician, songwriter, soccer coach, like that. So those are all, you could identify those as life games, right? Now, how I play them really comes down to one thing: my desire and my determination to play those games. So, do you have one? You can give me an example of a game that you'd like to basically try to make real in the universe, or maybe give me an example of something you have done in the past, and then give me one that you'd like to work on today. You'd like to own your own home again. Okay, cool. That's a game. Okay, good. So, homeowner. Great. And you? Oh, okay, great. Do you have a couple? You don't have to say them out loud, but oh, okay. Okay, great. So you have a game, right? Okay, so like right now I have a game called, become one of the best elite mental performance coaches in the world. So it means I'm going to be reaching a lot of people, reaching out to a lot of people. So that's my game, right? Elite mental performance coach. When I started that, there wasn't any activity for me like that. There wasn't like when you remember Monopoly and you picked which piece you were going to play with, right? Okay, so you have to pick a piece. Like in order for you to play this game called homeowner, that's actually an identity, right? That's one of the logistics. That's one of the pieces is picking the piece you're going to play with. I am a homeowner. I am an elite mental performance coach. That's the piece. Like when you play Monopoly, you have the little dog and the car and the hat. That's the identity, right? So the first thing you've got to have is that part right there. That's the thing that you identify first, or that you could there. Because the other thing you can do is you can figure out what the activity is going to be, right? Okay, well, the activity is going to be for me empowering others. That's the activity. Excuse me. Okay, so I could take the activity, and if I come up with that first, and I go, oh well, what kind of jobs or what kind of identities could I be that would empower others? I could do it that way. So then I can work it. I can work it backwards like that, right? All right. So now when we go from that, so from this section right here, some other logistics to the game. Let's see. Time is another piece, right? Now, this is the beginning of the game. This is the beginning of the road. You don't really know until you start digging in. Kind of like, they say, like in real estate, when you go to buy a house, you have to basically do the discovery walkthrough and you find out things. You're like, oh, I didn't know that was falling apart, or I didn't know that was going to be expensive, things like that. You won't know until you get into it, right? So, when you're doing this part and you're actually creating the game, you've got to give yourself, you go, okay, I have these ideas, right? So I've got time. There's the resources needed. Excuse me. Resources, the people that I need, that I'm going to need in order to play that, right? So these are just some of the pieces, right? So for me as a coach, I've got time, the resources, the people. Also, like, what results am I looking to produce? That's going to help me a lot. All right. So now I've got that kind of figured out. You have a couple of things that you've got figured out? Okay, cool. Great. So you've got the initial piece. This is like an initial sketch. From where I'm standing today, this is my initial sketch. This is how far I can see, right? I look over there and I go, well, I can see this and I can see that. So, right. Okay, now we're going to start, right? When you start, that's when things are going to come at you. Like, for example, when I started playing soccer, the first thing I realized that came at me was how easy it is to get out of breath. Right? It was like, oh wow, yeah, who you really gotta breathe, you gotta run a lot, and everybody says that, oh, so much running. So there's an initial discovery. Like, let's say I have a vision, I'm just gonna go out there and play like everybody else, but I've never done it before. I was playing baseball before that, and now I go and I start playing soccer, and I realize, wow, this is way more running than baseball. So I have a discovery. I'm doing an activity, and I'm discovering things. As I'm discovering things, unbeknownst to me, for the most part, I'm making decisions about those things. And I'm making decisions, more importantly, about myself in relation to those things. And I'm literally deciding who I am and who I'm not. Oh, I'm just not that good at running. Or in my case, it was like, oh, this is great. I love running. I had some friends that were like, no, dude, I'm going to go to the beach. I'm going surfing. Right? I was like, nah, forget it. The water's too dirty for me. I'd rather just come out here and get kicked in the ankles. So in this discovery phase, there's actually a lot of significance for people. We put a lot of meaning on that first part, when really it's nothing more than just putting the shovel in the dirt and finding out what's underneath. Right? So now you've got this activity, you've made some discoveries, right? And then you go into the next phase, which is what I call awareness, observation, and correction. I had an awareness. Well, what do you need to do? I need to learn how to kick the ball better. Okay, great. So that's an awareness, right? It's also an observation, because I was trying to do something, I couldn't do it. The observation about it was that I needed to be better at it. And then the correction is, okay, on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I'm going to actually practice kicking the ball. So now I've got a correction in, right? So now I've got these things working in concert with each other. And that actually is going to be my next, let's say, activity. It's going to be the things that I discovered here are going to go into this, and then they're going to go into that. Right? So now I go and I fine tune this activity. And I go, hey, I got a lot better at that first one, but I found out that I was really bad at that second one, and I was just kind of okay on the third one. So now we go back to the beginning. And this is probably one of the most important things when it comes to creating certainty. Because what we do as a species is we look at the top and we compare this initial one to the top. This is where I am today. And based on my experience, I'm going to compare myself to the top of whatever I'm looking at. What we don't do is look at this, because this is where we started with this idea. This is the first one. This is the most powerful one. Because if I said, I'm just going to play soccer for fun, well, the results don't really matter. Did I have a good time? Yeah, I had a great time. Okay, great. Did you lose? Oh, we lost terribly. Like, we gave up 20 goals. I never touched the ball once, but I was looking at all my friends. It was great. But if I stand here, and this is what a lot of people do, is then when you look at the top, okay, what's the top? Oh, the best soccer players in the world. The wealthiest homeowners. The best coaches, the best whatever, the biggest companies. We look at this and then we compare ourselves to that. Well, of course you're going to be miserable. You're going to be like, oh my God, I got a long way to go. Most people are going to probably not see that as a doable thing at that point. It's going to become very impossible. But let's say we go back here. I'm going to erase this. You need some water? You're good. I want to keep these sections because I think they're important to. Hold on a second. But here's what I discovered. You want to be good at one or two or three things. You want to also look at where you want to be with those one or two or three things. And when you're doing these steps, you want to look at how far along you are. Maybe you're here. But you look back here and you look up there and you realize, okay, I got more work to do, but I did make progress. But if I only look up here, which is this part, and I go, wow, that's so far away. That's almost like a moving carrot, right? And we tend to disempower ourselves with that. We don't look at, most of us don't look at obstacles and think, I'm going to do something great with that. That really lights me up how hard that is. I'm just pumped up. I'm going to take on the world here, looking at all those people coming at me or all those circumstances, right? So when you're doing this, you start laying things out, right? So now you've got this initial step right here. You go, okay, great. You look at what you got to do, what you did, right? What decisions you made. More importantly, what decisions you made about the activity you're getting involved in. Now, here's the thing about it. Here's this other little thing that I'm going to introduce right here. I have this little concentric circle diagram where it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, which represents 1, 2, 3, 4, like that, right? So we start here with the idea. We go to the activity. We do some work. We go here. We do some fine tuning, correction, observation. Well, no, corrections, observations, and then we go to the fine tuning part, right? But we don't go back to 1 right there because at that point we've progressed. We're now not the same person we were when we started. Like the first day I played soccer was not the same as the first month. A month later, I was a different person about it, right? And if I'm progressing and I'm in my determination, I'm actually now going to go to the next circle, which is going to bring me up to 5, 6, 7, and 8. And as I play this game like this, my circle of influence gets bigger. You know what that means? My mastery of the game gets better. So this is an indication of how I'm progressing. And you know what's the biggest sign of how much I'm progressing? How many new problems I have. Because when I started playing soccer, I couldn't kick the ball. And then I started kicking the ball. People were saying, oh, you got to pass it to Johnny or you got to pass it to Jim or whatever. They weren't having a conversation about you got to learn how to kick the ball because I handled that problem. And now the problem was getting it to the people on my team. And then it became, in this situation, play it here, in that situation, play it there, in that situation, play it there. Because I was playing the ball, but I was playing it to the wrong person at the wrong time. So each time I got a correction, I was getting bigger, but nobody told me I was getting bigger. So I kept looking at this part and comparing myself to that. Right? So do you guys have some examples? Do you want to share anything? Anything come to mind? Right. And you're like, share, you're good. Yes. Well, you're a spiritual being in a physical universe. So since we're having a spiritual conversation, I would actually draw it like there's you, right? And then you're actually just deciding what physical pieces you're going to be moving while you're here. So like I know this is a rental unit. It's called Willman. In another life it was called something else, right? My spirit goes, "Okay, let's play this game. Okay, now let's leave and let's go play another game." So I don't look at any of this as the body doing it. I look at it as the spirit doing it, and the spirit stopped. The spirit gets thwarted. A coach, right? Right. Yes. But as far as you mean, as far as spiritually, how would I see myself? Or is that what are you asking that? Or do you? Well, I feel like the physical universe is a manifest. So these things up here that I started with, when they show up, like when she has the house, and when I have, I have a multi-million dollar practice or whatever it is, like that's the physical manifestation of the spirit producing something in the physical universe. I'm just like I'm. This is just a body. It's not any more. I mean, it's different than other bodies. It's better in some areas and it's worse in other areas. You know what I mean? I don't really. I only pay attention to that to the degree that it brings people back to me, the being. But you're jumping here, so it's easy to have that conversation because you're engaged in that conversation. But like the most of the universe, I have to do all this to come back to like, who are you? Who are you being? Yes, right. Please. Yes, right. Yeah, absolutely. So there's something about this, like when you, as a being, start putting things out into the universe, right? Like we can call them waves or frequencies, right? Okay, well, the bigger being is going to send out bigger frequencies, bigger waves. The apples of the world are going to send out, I don't know, get like a brick. The frequency is so strong and powerful and consistent, it can't not manifest something that big, right? I think, honestly, I think that some of us can't be with that size of something. Like how many talented people do you know that just don't make it to the top consistently. Because I don't think, you could, let's say you're an actor and you make one movie and then you disappear, or you get ripped off by people and then you're a drug addict and you lose everything, or you're a musician, you have one hit and you're done for life. Like, that's not the same thing as somebody like that's producing at a high level over time, right? That's impressive because there's a lot of stuff in this uncertain world that comes at you, right? But here's something I discovered recently about putting my frequency out. So I have this idea that if I put my stuff out, it's probably going to get criticized. Well, it is. But the more criticism there is, the more attraction it gets, which that means it's got some mileage. That idea has some mileage. That frequency has some mileage. Well, here's the thing. I'm not a sculptor, but I can appreciate this, right? So I start off with this idea. When I start off with this idea, it's about that big, and I'm being about that big about it. I might have a big vision about it, but I'm being this big about it, right? And as I put that out, and I run into things, people, circumstances, upsets, whatever, in that moment, how I handle that determines the next phase, right? So if I go through that, you know what happens? I get bigger. And if I go through this bunch of stuff, which is the next layer of the circle, right? Then I get even bigger. So every time, yes. Right. Yeah. Yeah, because you're basically, when you look at something that you've, like I said, oh, I'm gonna be this coach. Okay, well, the universe is gonna give me stuff back on that. Okay, here you go. This is what you gotta work out, right? And I decide whether I'm gonna work it out or not. Well, every time I work it out, I'm actually sculpting the future me. Like people that take those big pieces of trees and or marble or granite or whatever, and they sculpt these incredible bodies out of them, right? That's what we're doing. We're sculpting our identity and our fortitude and our determination as we go through these things. Those things are there so that you can become the bigger one. Without those things, you won't become the bigger person. Right? Like champions they don't win everything. Right? Who was it like in the FIFA World Cup, you know, Spain won in 2010. It was the first time they'd won it, and they played against Holland, two countries that have never won it. They've been in it. They got rich soccer histories. They've never won it. And, the Dutch still haven't won it. But Spain has, and their whole culture has been elevated as a result of that, right? So they got through something together, and they pushed through, and they kept pushing, and they kept knocking, and so they become bigger as a culture, their soccer culture. But at the same time, it raised the level of everybody else in the country too. Like they say, high tide raises all boats. Anyway, so now you're taking this and you're going in an uncertain world. When the world throws something at you, your ability to make reality is basically saying, yeah, that's fine. You can put that there. I'm going to put this here. Right? And then the world throws something else at you and you're like, okay, great. Thank you for sharing. I'm going to eat that. I'm going to eat that. I'm going to eat that. And as you consume those obstacles that come up, this becomes more solid and more real. If you look at them as an opportunity to get bigger, kind of like Pac-Man. Every time Pac-Man ate something, it got bigger. And the only way that you can actually keep creating certainty, because certainty is your ability to do something, right? I know I can do that. Like I do. There are some things that it doesn't matter what's happening. I could do it. And there's other things I'm like, nah, I don't really know about that one, right? But if I break down the logistics of it and I just put some pieces together, it doesn't even matter what they are. It just matters that I start, and then I start messing with the pieces. Okay, let's take out the puzzle piece here. What does it look like to be a good coach? Oh, you got to get out there. You got to talk to people. Oh, okay. I realized that when I'm first talking to people, I'm a retired professional soccer player, and I'm talking to kids in the park like they're adult males. They're children in a park. I was like, oh, I gotta adjust my talking. They're not adult males in a stadium. They're children. I had a mom come up to me, put her hand on my shoulders when I started that. She was like, "They're 10. They love you." Oh, it was pretty funny. But that was my initial discovery. It was my correction. You don't have to talk to them like that. They're kids in a park. They think you're great. You just got to show them a good time, show them a few tricks, make them interested, make them want more. And then you can give them more, right? I don't have to force anything on them because honestly, the best anybody in the world can be is self-determined, right? Like they want to do it for themselves. And you don't have to babysit them, you don't have to manage their integrity. So you've got to give them those pieces as a coach. So that's how I started to break it down, right? And then fine tuning the activity is just at this point is basically getting all the materials together, the digital media together, the marketing hours and all that kind of stuff. So then I go and I do that, and then I come back here and I look at where I was when I started, and I've come a long way. I'm doing pretty good. Now I'd like to go faster. Now I'd like to reach the next goal in less time, not as much as it took me to get to this point, right? And I just keep looking at the world as an opportunity to put my stamp myself in it, to see more of myself in it, right? The world is going to continue to be uncertain. So it's only going to come down to me and my determination as a spiritual being to make that a reality, knowing that my idea is not a reality, that my desire is not a reality. It's up here, or it's in here, or it's this being wanting to manifest itself in the physical universe, right? That's all it does. This being just wants to exist in the physical universe. This is an expression of that manifestation, right? Like that. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So years ago when I started, I got divorced and I was coaching these 12-year-old girls, and I was going through a rough time. I was a little edgy. So, I snapped at them a couple days in a row or something. And then I said to them, I just want you to, they were like, what are you so upset about? I was like, I just want you to get the work done. And they're like, okay, we can do that. And we can have a good time too. And actually really was very, very helpful. So as far as growing and learning, always, always the ultimate goal to me of a great life is great results and a great experience. I mean, I grew up in a very old school athletic environment where it was like, come on, man, you need to be a man and you need to toughen up and that kind of stuff. And I became successful at it, but I wouldn't say I loved it. Right? I just had an ability to block it out. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stop listening. I'm just gonna go play the game and produce results for myself. But I didn't love it. I didn't love coming off the field getting yelled at. Right? Were you gonna say something? So my my experience of that is that we want to do things to have a better experience of ourselves. I want the world, but I want the world to be a safer place, so that I can have a better experience of walking down the street. Or if I look on the news, I don't really want to be like, oh, what's happening now? When are the guns going to start coming out? Like, I don't want to have that experience, right? So I just think everything comes down to having a better experience. And one of the things that creates a better experience is your ability to do something. When I became like, there was a point where I was like, you know, I made mistakes and I thought I was a terrible soccer player, and I probably was. But there was a point where I knew I was a good soccer player, and I didn't matter if I made a mistake or 10 mistakes or lost the game or lost the championship. I wasn't a bad soccer player. And I think there was something that made that more enjoyable. Just like right now, I think I'm a good coach. I'm working to being a great coach, an extraordinary coach, right? A revolutionary coach. But not because I want other people's validation, but more because that's the game that I'm interested in playing for myself. Right? That's why I played soccer in the first place, because I wanted to play, not because somebody told me to play. But getting good at it made it fun. It was fun to be able to run past two or three people and crack the ball into the top corner, at 13, or score from 40 yards out at 13. It was fun. I was good at it. I knew how to hit the ball really hard. I knew how to hit it accurately. So if I mean, why am I doing it? I think because I think it's important for people to know that they can do more and that they can be more competent. Because I think the more competent we have as a society, the more enjoyable things will become. I think a lot of people don't really have that encouragement. Just competent, just doing simple things. I know how to clean up. I know how to like fix little things. I can fix my car, whatever your thing is. I know how to cook. Some people are great with spices. Other people are great at making clothes. You know what I mean? Like, whatever your thing is, just get good at it, because it'll give you so much freedom to know. That gives you certainty. To know that I can figure out how to talk to somebody, to know that I can kick a ball, to know that I can blah blah. That is what certainty is. Now I go into the world and I just keep putting it in. I keep putting it in. I keep putting it in, and I don't let the world tell me how it's going to go. They might tell me that I might need to make adjustments, but it doesn't mean that I'm not going to get here, right? I think one of the best things I ever heard about your goals and your dreams was that there isn't anything wrong with it. You just need a better plan. And sometimes that means taking a different road, taking a different tact. So yeah, like if I haven't reached my goal, just get a better plan. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like if I'm trying to go to Europe and I'm cutting through the jungles of Costa Rica, it's probably somebody's probably going to say, "Hey, you should probably get a boat." You know what I mean? Like that. It's like, oh, what a novel idea! Get a boat. I thought it was through the jungle somehow. Maybe the Earths will come back together again. Like the continents will retouch, like that. So yeah. Anyway, so is this helpful? I mean, do you have any questions? Any suggestion? Any feedback you want to give me? Yes. No, that's a good point. I think those are great points. I think you got to look here, right? Like because in this discovery of something, that maybe you're not that good at it, or you're not that good at it yet. You have to get to this part, and you have to implement something, even one thing new. Oh yeah, I remember when Facebook came out and everybody thought they had to put their whole lives on. Like, oh, you got to post, you got to post, you got to post. Why? You know? Yeah, yeah, exactly. Some businesses that's right for too, right? So yeah, um, yeah. I find that uh, the biggest setback that we can have is misidentifying, misdiagnosing what really needs to happen. You know, um, in order for me to be an elite coach, I have to get results, right? But I I I have to get results that are long lasting and that the person walks away going, I can use that for myself. That's mine. It's not Willman's. It's mine. To me, that's an extraordinary coach. A world of people that says that's mine. Because what I have today, I mean, I made some of it up, but a lot of it I got from other people. I'm just saying it in a different way, maybe the same way. You know, life lessons are still they're still circling, just like the wind. They're not any different than Buddha taught. Just different words. I'm wearing a different outfit. You know. Would you like to say something? Right. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I was coaching some girls over the summer, and I was putting them to a really it was a small drill, but it was fast and it was actually quite difficult because of the space. They didn't have much time to do the exercise. It was a 2-on-2 game, and one of the girls is taking and she's trying to go around the other girl, and she lost the ball, and she was like, and I said, and I looked at her and I said, "Don't invalidate your idea because you couldn't execute it in that moment." And in that moment, I said it to her. I was looking at where do I do that? Where do other people I know do that? They have an idea, and because they don't execute it in that moment perfectly, they invalidate the idea, and then they consequently invalidate themselves. As opposed to like, I'm still sculpting that move, right? And honestly, all she needed to do was just make the move like 2 feet sooner. Small adjustment, right? But had I not said that to her, she would have walked away feeling like she's terrible with the ball. And I'm just like, now she's going to make a decision about herself and say, I'm just not one of those. I'm going to be a little bit smaller because of that. Oh, absolutely. Right. Yeah. You always have to go. I think, you know, you have to you have to just become very determined. Like, I'm going to do this. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it. Like that will drive the mechanics of the universe more than anything else. You know. Yeah. Yes. Yes. I agree. I hear that. I love that you're saying that. ENCE. You know, you can have that. You can have that standard, right? You can. It's wonderful. You need to have it to get through this life. You just need to identify those pieces. And then you got to go back here and you got to see how those pieces are progressing, how much time you put into it, so that they all create a road to that person, right? Like, what's the, like, I always believe that uh, being a good person and being good at what you did was like two most important things in the world. I don't want people around me that don't want those things. If you're not a good person and you don't know what good quality work is, I don't really want you to be around me unless I'm training you to learn those things, which is different because then my job is to empower you, right? So this is wonderful to have. You got to have a measurement from back here, and you got to and you got to see what you've got in place. What are those things, right? And I think probably one of the most difficult things. This is something I pointed out to a friend of mine recently. That's so funny. Is that we look at those things and actually we have a feeling about it or an experience about it, and then we try to handle our experience about it, not the thing. Like, oh, I didn't make that on time. I was late to the meeting. Now I'm handling my feelings about being late to the meeting, or I'm trying to handle my feelings about being late to the meeting, not just what do I do now to make that better. Because the problem isn't in how I feel. The problem is now how are the people left that I was late to meet with. Like if I had a meeting with Nike for a sponsorship meeting and I was like an hour late or something, I should feel bad. You know what I mean? Like that's brutal. But feeling bad is not going to be the solution. And certainly trying to cover it up or change it or whatever. My experience of it is a separate thing to handle than that thing out there. And I think I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was like, I got really upset about this, and I don't know what to do about this situation in my family. And it's like, yeah, because you're not talking about the family situation. You're basically trying to address how you feel, and you just want to arrange the family in a certain order so that your feelings can change. Except that your feelings don't exist over there; they exist in here. So you can handle your feelings. Just don't expect your family to line up with anything until you're done. So you can address that independent of you. Yes. This is how I feel about it. Yeah, but you don't understand. No, I do. I just know that, like, I do get it. I totally get it. I just don't think that handling that has anything to do with, like, getting the car to the mechanic. You're on the freeway. Like, the longer you stay there being upset about it is going to take you that much time to get the car off the freeway. Make the phone call and just stay calm. So yeah, it's a really this mindset thing is really important because where you put your attention is really really critical. If you don't put your attention in the right thing, man, I mean, I certainly have done it. I've struggled with things. It's like, why? It's almost like that when the computer is just spinning in circles and your brain is like that. You're like, why am I not getting a result in this area? Oh, because your attention's in the wrong area. No, the attention. What didn't work as opposed to how I feel about what didn't work. Like if you put your attention on how you feel, right? Here's what happened, right? You look at that and you go, "Oh, I feel like this." Now you look at right, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right. What's my intention to be My intention is to be a homeowner. My attention needs to be on the things every day that will have me be a homeowner again. But you're being a homeowner.
Right, not like, oh, I had a home and now I'm
Right.
becoming one. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Cool. Okay. Well, I'm good. Are you guys good with that? Was that helpful? Awesome. Thank you very much. You want to say anything over there? You're good. Well, those of you, whoever's out there, I hope you got something from that, and we'll hope to see you on Sundays. And let's see, you can look me up online under Willman Morcillo or the Power Shift Principle on Instagram. And yeah, just thank you for having me. It was great to get this out. Thank you. Thank you for those questions.